To pray, there's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
One thing I learned from my father is that this life is not fair. There are many paths to forgiveness, many things you can do to try and make up for them. However, one thing you can't do is not face punishment. So, I have a mission I am set out to do. Something I will do to honor my father. But before I leave, I will dig 2 graves. Now, hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here. Now, let us begin. Whenever we last left off, Midoriya, he has learned more and more things from his father. He was 8 before we left off in the last part, so let us round that up to about age 13. Now, Midoriya has his own training exercise and regiment. He also has been learning more about firearms. In fact, anytime he wants to now, his dad lets him mess with them. He usually does take his dad's guns down to the firing range and test them out himself. Sure, his mom doesn't really feel comfortable with him doing that, but she does trust her son. Along with that, he himself has been working harder and more. He might be quirkless, but hey, that doesn't mean he can't do something good. Besides, it is also really interesting and cool. The Bible used to talk about someone who would always protect people. Something along those lines. Personally, he himself has not read it, but he can understand some things. It always talks about forgiveness, that people aren't perfect. Yeah, that's true. He can understand that. But at the same time, it does shed some light on some other things. Some of the true natures of humanity. Sometimes they will betray you. Sometimes you can't always trust people. He's not going to go into all that. Since usually think about it, usually provides conflicts. Good and bad reasons for both sides. Now, with that being said, Midoriya is actually heading home. It is also close to very late at night. As Midoriya is heading home, he does hear something. And well, yikes. It is not good. Midoriya, he does actually take a peek down the alleyway to see what is going on. A few men are beating on another guy, and basically telling him that he needs to do what they've asked. Their boss isn't gonna really be very forgiving if he doesn't get them the money that he owes. Now, Midoriya, he actually does see what's going on, and think for a second, before he simply sets down the case, and takes out one of the handguns. Walking down the alleyway, he tells the guys to leave that man alone. Both of them staring directly at Midoriya, who is standing there with a hand behind his back, and one of them pointing at both of them. Both of them looking up at him and asking the kid exactly what is he gonna do, before one of them tries to walk towards him. Now, Midoriya, he actually does show his right hand. As soon as they see his hand come out from behind his back, they think that he has some form of quirk. Before seeing the firearm, The man directly in front of Midoriya simply just backing up, taking 2 steps back and telling the kid that those things are dangerous. He knows that, right? He really shouldn't even have one. Yeah, I know. But just because I have it doesn't mean I won't use it. Now, leave that man alone. Really, what are you gonna do? Now, Midoriya simply does one thing. He points the gun down towards the man's feet and aims it 2 feet to the left of the man's foot, a good distance away, firing down at the ground. The man simply jumping backwards, almost falling onto the ground, saying, "Jesus!" before getting up and simply turning, him and the other guy beginning to run. The kid has a loaded gun. They aren't messing with that. Now, Midoriya then simply puts the safety back on and puts the gun in the back of his waistband, asking the man if he is okay. The man simply just says that he'll be perfectly fine as he gets back up, asking the kid exactly why did he do that. To which Midoriya explains to him that he wants to be a hero. If you wanted to be a hero, you could have used your quirk. I'm quirkless, sir. Really? That's wasn't aware that was still a thing. I thought it was just the older generations. Yeah, sadly not. Anyways, I do have to go home, so are you gonna be fine here or do you want me to call an ambulance? Yeah, if you could just give them a call, I think I should be fine. You said this guy's running though. So, what's your name, kid? My name is Izuka Midoriya. Alright, well, thank you. Now, Midoriya does actually head home. However, he does keep this incident silenced from his mom and dad. Now, Midoriya, he continues on through the next few weeks, and those weeks turn into months, continuing on with his training, and beginning to do more things. As Midoriya is at the age of 14. And, well, this is where things are getting interesting. He is almost at the beginning of the anime, and he's continuing on with more and more of his training. He's learned more about rifles and fighting styles, learning how to use weapons, as the teacher goes on stating that today is going to be very different. They have a few students who do actually plan on heading to UA and trying out their very own Bakugo Katsuki and Azuka Midoriya. Now, Bakugo, instead of getting defensive and saying that no one else can compare to him, he reluctantly just looks over at Midoriya, who is simply just, well, talking with a few people around him. They're asking him exactly what makes him think he is going to be able to get into UA. To which he just says that he's been training for it for quite a long time. And he actually did increase his regiment, especially for UA. In fact, he plans on going a bit further in the next couple months, trying to build more and more muscle, and learning how to use knives. Since if he can actually get into the entrance exam, he can fight. Now, Midoriya, he does actually go on talking about how the entrance exam should have 2 pieces. From what he knows, there should be a written exam, and then possibly something about physical fitness, probably combat. So if he finds out that he's fighting against people, then yikes. That's going to be a lot harder. But if they're, let's say, fighting against something else, like against some guy who has like a summoning quirk or probably a shadow quirk or something like that, basically something that isn't physically alive, then he won't have to hold back, so it will be a lot easier. Now, with that being said, the day does end, and everyone begins to head home. Now, Midoriya, he actually does run home. Instead of encountering the sludge villain, however, he does find a different scene. Whenever he does take a shortcut through an alleyway to go home, he does hear something nearby. And he sees it. He looks down the alleyway and rounds the corner as he sees a few cops in the tunnel. They are talking with someone and actually beating on them, trying to talk with them and explaining that the man messed with their boss and that he really shouldn't have done that. The guy runs this city. And well, if he does anything like that again, then they will not hesitate to kill him, just like they did with the other guy. As one of the cops start to beat the man down, kicking him directly in the stomach, along with actually pressing down on the man's rib cage, as the man tries to force his foot down to the side, or simply just move it away so he can breathe. He is having quite a bit of trouble, and Midori is just looking on, as one thing does happen. He accidentally steps on a glass bottle and breaks it. One of the cops looking down Midori's direction as he turns and takes off running. Now, by the time the cop gets down to the alleyway, Midori has already rounded the corner, and he is simply just standing up against the wall, trying not to be seen. Now, Midoriya, he takes off running. And well, what he just saw was not good. He's really hoping that those guys did not see him. However, Midoriya is sadly mistaken. The cop probably saw his face. It's not a definite. However, yeah, Midoriya does head home and try to forget about the entire day, hearing on the news that the sludge villain was captured after trying to rob a bank or rob a convenience store. Now, with that being said, Midoriya also does head down to the gun range on the weekend. Whenever he does get there, he begins to fire off a few of the handguns his dad has. A 9mm Beretta, a 44, and a .45. Three of his personal favorites. Now, he is firing the 44. As soon as he gets done firing off all 6 shots, he immediately just opens the chamber and sends the bullets flying down towards the ground, before simply quickly loading one in and spinning the chamber, before bringing the handgun up and clicking it 4 times before the 5th one fires, and he hits his target directly in the head. Now, after he did that, he actually does mark that down for his seconds. That took him roughly about 7 seconds to hit all 7 shots. Pretty good. However, yeah, he's trying to break his personal records. And that spin was a bit too much. Yeah, if he keeps doing that, he's probably going to hurt the handgun, or probably break it. Last time I did that, his dad was a bit mad. So he needs to stop doing it. Or at least not let his dad find out. Now, Midoriya actually does begin to head home today, as he's walking down the same road, eventually running into those 2 cops again, as one of them begins to talk with the young man, trying to ask him a few questions, asking him if he was around here the other day. Midoriya simply just looking a bit confused, asking the officer exactly why would he be around here yesterday. Well, young man, there seems to be a bit of an incident. A man was found dead around here, and we were hoping that you might have some evidence. No, sir, I don't know anything. Oh, really? Well, I guess that I should let you go then. But what's in the case, young man? Oh, these. I was, just down at the shooting range. Ah, I see. So, do you have a permit for those? Yes, I do, along with my father. He used to be in the military. Oh, well, tell your father I said thank you for his service. Yes, sir. Ah, so, he taught you proper respect then, yes, boy? Yes, sir. Ah, well, I believe that you would be a fine addition to the police force one day, young man. Well then, run along. We do have to investigate this further. Yes, sir. Midoriya takes off running. Now, the man watches Midoriya as he runs down the tunnel and heads right. The other officer simply just saying, is he really sure that that kid was the one he saw? Yup. Then again, the shirt's a different color. But hey, pretty sure that kid's gonna report us. That, or he doesn't at least know our badge numbers or faces. Now he does. So he's a loose end. You got it. So how are we gonna deal with this? Well, I have a few ideas. First off, we simply get the boss to use one of his guys. You know, the one with that quirk. Really? Don't you think that's a bit overkill? Not really. You gotta remember, he is specifically hired for that reason. His weapons are untraceable. Got it. Now, Midoriya is at home later that day, and he's actually a bit more nervous. Those were clearly the cops from yesterday, and they know who he is. And, well, he's trying to think for a second. If he goes to the cops, then they simply won't believe him, since this is some of their own guys. Shit. So he has to call someone. He has to call heroes, right? Let's see. Now, Midoriya is simply thinking about what agency he should call. He's not really sure if he can trust any of them. He's not really too sure if they would even listen to him, especially since he's accusing a cop of being a killer. And with what he said, he worked for some guy. Now, with that out of the way, the man that these guys were talking about does see the apartment. And he thinks for a minute. This is going to be perfect. So, let's do this. As the man creates a weapon, and he aims it directly at the apartment he needs to. And he pulls the trigger, as a rocket gets sent flying directly into the front of Midoriya's door, smashing into it and blowing it open. As there's a loud explosion. Midoriya, he actually feels his room shake, and the building get offset. As he opens the door and sees what is going on. He tries running into the kitchen to find his mom, or even find his dad, as there is another explosion. Something in the kitchen just blew up, and Midoriya got smashed into a wall, along with a piece of metal being implanted in between his ribs. And it hurts, as Midoriya brings his hands up and begins to try and pull it out. It's cutting away at his hand while he's trying to pull. Midoriya trying to calm down, thinking for a second if he pulls it out that's just going to start bleeding, and his problem's going to be a lot worse than it just being stuck there. It's keeping all of the blood inside, so let's just keep that there. Now, Midoriya's mind is racing and it's full of adrenaline. Trying to think for a minute. Who would attack his house? Who would do this? As he's looking into the room, the couch has been sent flying and it's on fire. Many different things are happening and people are trying to find out what's going on. And Midoriya, he can see it. His mom and his dad. As there's a man standing there. He is just standing there in a coat. Midoriya just watching, as the man fires a couple bullets into his mother's chest, before firing a third one into her head. Midoriya's dad is trying to fight against the man, as he smashes the man directly into the fridge, the man simply overpowering his dad, smashing his head directly into the wall before simply putting it down and opening the fridge, smashing Midoriya's dad in the head with it, along with actually putting a knee to the fridge to give it more weight. Midoriya just watching him do that as the man angrily puts 3 rounds into the back of Midoriya's dad's head before turning to see Midoriya. The man going to fire off another shot. He fires 2. As Midoriya, he simply jumped out of the way, jumping for cover. The first shot missed, while the second one hit Midoriya into the shoulder. And the man, he won't have enough time, so hopefully he gets this done. As he simply just runs into the other room, jumping over some of the flaming beams. And seeing Midoriya, who's currently holding onto his left shoulder and has a piece of shrapnel lodged in his ribs. Midoriya gets a clear view of the man's face, as the man just tells him that his boss, Mr. Something, sends his regards, pulling the trigger and shooting Midoriya in the head, as the man simply leaves, thinking that he got the job done. As, well, he sets off more explosives. Now, the explosives he sets off don't go off in this building. They go off to other buildings close by. That way that the police officers and the first responders that are there, they arrive at those buildings first. They're going to be passing by them on the way to this one. So they're going to have to stop there and then send more units over here, giving them a slower response time. Now, the man, he simply just jumps out of a window and begins to scale his way down the building, scaling down the drainage pipes. Now, he leaves, simply disappearing. And among all the commotion, people find the bodies. And Bakugo, he hears about this. This happened very late at night. And he watches as they are wheeling the bodies out. The bodies of Hisashi Midoriya, Inko Midoriya, and seemingly the one of the boy he used to know, Izuku Midoriya. They all think that these 3 are dead. However, there are 2 ambulances, and they checked for pulses to see if anyone even survived, and are surprised to find out that Izuku survived. The boy was shot in the head and lived, as they rushed him to the hospital. Now, they need to hurry. But I believe that that will be a very good point to leave this off. And I do hope you guys enjoyed.